Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and we're going to do an update on this crazy colony. If you haven't been following, I'm going to do a quick summary of what has happened. This little 5-frame nuke we caught 2 years ago in a swarm. I wanted to see if there was any resistance at all to the varroa mites. We didn't treat them. And I washed last summer 94 mites in a 300 bee alcohol wash. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, unfortunately an alcohol wash kills 300 bees to find out a very accurate count to see how many varroa mites are consuming the bees on their abdomen. And 94 is an insane mite load. That means almost 1 out of every 3 bees has a mite on it. And not only are the mites sucking away their nutrition, they are also injecting them with all kinds of viruses and possibly harmful bacteria. There's a lot of things we still don't know, but we do know they are devastating to colonies. And because of that, we had to start treating immediately because I didn't want the colony to perish or other bees rob it out and other kinds of stuff. So we were experimenting with that. We did 5 rounds of oxalic acid vapor 4 days apart, and we stuck to it using the ProVap 110. Even after that, I still washed a 30 and 34 mites I think it was, in a alcohol wash, so still too high. And some people are like, well, I thought it was supposed to give you a high level of mite kill. My experience, not only this test, has shown that oxalic acid vapor isn't quite as good of a kill as what some people think that it is. Does it really help? I believe so, but I really think it does better when the bees are mostly broodless or completely broodless. And a lot of people underestimate the varroa mite, and I think they overestimate the effectiveness of oxalic acid vapor, and they end up with weak or dead colonies because they trust something without knowing how well it actually works. Now, that's just my opinion on it, and that's what I've seen, not only doing this, but going through 40 colonies and doing alcohol washes after those as well. So let's get into this colony right here. Oh, by the way, after that 5, we still had that high mite count. We put 2 strips of Vapovar into the colony back when it was a 10-frame deep, and we did a couple more rounds of oxalic acid vapor. The mite load is essentially gone, but the viruses kept dwindling the colony down. When we started treating, the colony was close to about 10 frames of bees. And here it is in April. We have colonies that have filled out 3 deep boxes. We're splitting, raising queens, all kinds of different things. And this colony right here is just trying to hang on, but I think it's turning the corner. I cannot believe it. We have not put anything in but treatments, but look at this right here. So I thought I would try some canvas as an inner cover, and the bees have chewed right through it. So you're going to have to, I think some people say you need to cook it in beeswax and different things in order to get to work, but they came out of winter as 2 frames of bees, and now they are quite a bit larger. So that is pretty exciting. We do have a flow going on. I was seeing a lot of viruses in the brood going into winter, and they just kept dwindling down, about 2 frames of bees. We did requeen them. That's one thing I failed to mention. Once we started treating after the first oxalic acid vapor round, I requeened them with one of our own queens, because I believe that the old queen probably had viruses in her system. You don't know, so I just requeened it anyways. So let's see what's going on right here. Now, I was in here the other day, and I was really surprised that the brood looks very clean, and I'm actually going to probably have to add a box pretty soon. Look at that right there. If I would have had $100 extra to bet, I would have bet that this colony would have not survived. But that brood looks pretty good, especially from where they started off on. Now, keep in mind though, we put a ton of time and effort into saving this colony, and we have colonies that are going to produce over 100 pounds of honey this year. Some of them are going to make a nuke too off of them at least, and we're not going to put a fraction of the time into the colony and get a whole lot more out of them. Now, we've been feeding this colony quite aggressively. Lots of eggs down in there. I've been, as you can saw that jar on there, I've been feeding watered down Pro Sweet, and they've been taking it. I think they probably take half a gallon, and that really helps clean out their system. I don't think it works on viruses, but so far I've yet to see any discolored larvae, and I have not seen any signs of deformed wing virus. There's a lot of little larvae down in here. The bee coverage is getting better. They just had their first significant round of brood hatch out, emerge out, and they're starting to cover more frames, and now the queen's able to really get to laying. Oh yeah, there's tons of healthy looking larvae down there, and this is surprising. I really did not think this colony was going to make it. The next frame over is just foodstuffs. So I've got to add another box to this colony soon. I would say if I don't add another box within the next 10 days, they're going to want to gear up for swarming, because they've got some brood that's going to be hatching out. I keep saying hatching. Emerging out of the cell. And wow, there's just eggs all down in there. Lots of pollen coming in though. The red oaks are just fully budded out and producing lots of pollens with the catkins hanging down. Look at all that pollen down in there. That really helps. But anyways, I just wanted to give you all an update. It looks like they might be doing a little bit of brooding on that frame too, but if we can just get 2 more good frames, and they're just eggs all down in that. If we can just get this one and the other to hatch out, whatever. We are going to have a decent colony out of this, but it took a lot of work. We still ended up treating them anyways, and just because they are a swarm of bees out of a cutout or the wild does not mean they have any resistance whatsoever. It is my opinion that the honeybee will never fully become resistant to the varroa mite. I know this is a very controversial topic, but the reason I feel that is, one, the bees don't necessarily have to. And some people are like, well, nature always sorts itself out. Have you guys not noticed all of the things in nature that have gone extinct or on the endangered list? The varroa mite is very devastating. The bees don't have a whole lot of natural defenses. I've tried some of those Mahler queens and stuff like that. And while I think we do need to breed for as much resistance as possible, I think that's just smart. To think that our bees are just going to magically be able to turn around in just a handful of years. For some people, like, well, we've been breeding for 20 or 30 years or so. We're getting significant headway. Well, over the course of time, 20 or 30 years is like a drop in the ocean. So there is a lot to this. It's complicated. I honestly think the bees don't need to become fully immune, because the best thing that the bees can do to keep themselves alive is just swarm. If they go out of the hive and they swarm, the bulk majority of the mites stay with the original colony, because they're in the capped brood and on the nurse bees who aren't flying. That's where most of the nutrition is. It is on the young. The older bees are flying away, starting a new colony, shedding some mites. Also, it breaks up the mite cycle. The mites don't live a super long lifetime. So as they're developing a new colony, over that time it loses some of the mites that it has. And bees that swarm more often, keep smaller colonies, have been proven to reduce the mite loads. It's just natural. So there are a lot of variables out there. Whatever your goals and plans are, just keep in mind that the varroa mite is a problem for all honeybees. And in some form or fashion, something has got to deal with the varroa mite and the viruses that they inject into your bees. So we're really happy that this colony has been saved. It's going forward, and we're going to do everything we can to keep it doing so, but we're not going to let it go without treatments in the future. Thanks for watching our videos. If you have any comments on what happened to this colony, leave them below.